Good evening, everybody. It's Mike Melton back. We're in the Spotlight podcast. We live tonight with a very special guest, legendary Chris Rivers. Chris, how you doing tonight, man?
Mike, I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on the show, and honestly, I appreciate you just staying up so late, bro. It's 9 o'clock on the East Coast, and not sure if
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're an Eagles or a Giants fan, but depending upon where you're leaning, it's a tough night for some of them fans tonight.
No, I like the 49ers, so we
Oh well, you
kind of
feeling
got it
good?
done tonight, you know what I mean? But I had
Yes,
to
sir.
stay up for this interview because, you know what I'm saying, I've been watching your product and the things you were affiliated with for years, and I always had some questions that I always wanted to ask, and hopefully we could get some of that done. But first, I like to start off with our dedication tonight.
Okay.
And tonight, we dedicate this program to Amani the Live Wire Sexton, born May 5th, 1999, and tragically passed away April 19th, 2015. Nicknamed the Live Wire, Amani was an explosive basketball prospect who lost his life to gun violence in 2015. Sexton was a member of New Jersey Players and attended high school in Patterson, New Jersey. The basketball community is still mourning the death of this youngster. R.I.P. Livewire. Yeah, that was a tough one, man. A tough one for the whole community. So, R.I.P. Amani. I understand gun violence. I was a victim of it too, and that's the story for another day. But Chris, man, I just want to say thank you for coming on. This is truly an honor, man. I wanted to give my flowers to the legends, and you definitely one of them, man. So let's just start from the beginning. How did you even get started in grassroots basketball?
I got started in grassroots basketball probably 1992.
Mm,
I coached a team from Northern California. It was a basketball program called NorCal, and they allowed me to take a 14U team to Las Vegas. There used to be an event on the West Coast called the May Fisher Easter Classic. Everyone
mm.
from LA, Arizona, Nevada, Washington. It was just a place you went for age group AAU basketball. And my team took fifth. And it was something that just, I got hooked on it. It was like a good drug. And I said I had
I
to have
know that
more of it.
feeling.
Literally. I mean, I wanted to coach. I was probably not probably. I think I was 24 at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I had guys from San Francisco, Oakland, had some kids from the suburb. We had a nice team. Every kid I coached out of that 10 probably played college basketball. Not that I can
Mm.
remember every name, but the name that stood out, there was a two guard on my team named Eddie House.
I remember
Eddie
him.
House ended up being a pretty good college player and a pretty good player, won a chip with the Boston Celtics, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, we didn't think about, oh, a kid at 14 is going to be a pro. We like, oh, he going to play for our season as a sophomore. That was something we were looking forward to. That's just where we were. But ironically, that tournament that we lost to take fifth place, the other starting point guard on that team was from Arizona. It was a guy named Mike Bibby.
Mm.
And I had never seen Mike Bibby. And at that point, I was like, I want to be around high level basketball the rest of my life, whatever I have to do. So at
Mm-hmm.
that point, I said, I was teaching high school, I was teaching world history, I was coaching freshman basketball at St. Joseph Notre Dame High School. And I said, whatever I have to do to be in Las Vegas every year for this event, this is what I'm going to do. Not
Wow.
knowing 26 years later, I will have been in Las Vegas every year for basketball, except in COVID 2020. So
Mm.
that's how I got started.
So once you get started and now you start to transform, how did you get first affiliated with the sneaker companies in terms of camps and things of that nature?
My transition happened. I'm from Oakland, California, original,
Okay.
born and raised.
Okay.
Day of birth, I left at age 30 to work for Adidas, which I'll get into. But my big opportunity came when I guess I was recruited by a gentleman by the name of Calvin Andrews, who's the
Mm.
founder of Scholar Athletes and Oakland Slam and Jam, but everybody
Okay.
today knows it as the Oakland Soldiers.
Okay.
Calvin brought me over from the program I was in. He had always planned on being an agent, which he is right now for another agency, and he's doing a great job in the business. But he said, yo, I need you to come in to be my lieutenant. I need somebody to help grow the program. We were about basketball. We were about being competitive. They already had a relationship with Adidas, but he needed someone young to come in because he didn't plan on being there for very long. That's what opened up my doors to attend my first ABCD camp in 1997,
Mm.
which Calvin Andrews invited me. I slept on the floor.
Wow.
Calvin's roommate was Darren Matabor, aka
Mm-hmm.
Mats, who's
Mm-hmm.
still in the agency business doing a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
And no one knew who I was. But the main conduit to that trip was a kid by the name of Ray Young, who's a McDonald's All-American in 1998, played at UCLA. Ray, we're still close today when I see him. He was my first kid that college coaches started calling me for to find out how they could get to him. And I said, oh, this is how this works, because I know this kid and I travel with him and his family's trusted me to have a rapport with him. I wasn't this guy. I wasn't calling any of the shots, but I was the young dude who was around. Ray had two parents. He has a sophisticated family. Ray was a 3.5 student, but me and him were close. So that relationship opened up a lot of doors for me to meet Roy Williams, Jesse Evans, Lute Olson, Tubby Smith, coaches from all over the country. So that's how I kind of transitioned and got my feet wet into being able to go to ABCD camp in 1997. I attended ABCD camp in 1997 and 1998. Call me an intern, call me a volunteer, non-paid assistant, whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I carried boxes, whatever Gary Charles, when he sat at the front table on the microphone, as we know Gary Charles liked to do,
Mm-hmm.
whatever him, Gary DeCesar, and those guys needed, I was willing to help out. I was just passionate about being in that space every year. Coincidentally, in the fall of 1998, I received a call from Darren Kalish, who at that time was running grassroots for Adidas. He was that guy. And he said, hey, Rivers, I'm about to go work for UCLA next spring. Would you be interested in moving up to Portland and taking my seat? And I was like, maybe. I didn't know what to expect. I was happy living around outside of Oakland. I was teaching third and fourth grade.
Wow.
Oakland Slam and Jam was growing and progressing. So after multiple months of getting on Sonny's nerves, I wasn't emailing Sonny. Sonny really wasn't taking calls. I was just sending him letters. Every month I say, Sonny, I'm the right guy. I can do this. I was blowing him up. So I think one of the reasons why Sonny hired is he just got tired of me harassing him. And Sonny played a key role in that. A woman by the name of Tracy Morris actually hired me. She was the one who ran the department back then. And I moved up to Beaverton, Oregon with my wife and one-year-old daughter, Lauren, who's now 25 in May of 1999, man. And I've been blessed ever since then.
Like when I did camps, of course, I was trying to make a living. Being that the players didn't have to pay or things of that nature, what was the true purpose of camps like ABC Day?
The true purpose of ABCD camp, which Sonny Vaccaro started, don't get me wrong, on the year. Well, he started it back with Nike, then he transformed to Converse, and I think he might have had a year with another brand before he even shifted over to Adidas. The way I viewed it was, how do we get the best high school basketball talent in one place for 5 days, give them some off-court development, because back then you had classes that kids had to go to. You didn't go to class, you didn't play. Bring in the best coaches, put them on the teams, create matchups where everyone played equal amount of time, and you created this amazing competitive basketball platform where college coaches could come in and view it, where scouting services, obviously Bob Gibbons, Clark Francis, everyone who was the pioneers in the space could come in and write about it. And at that time, as you're fully aware, Mike, anyone who's from the age, you could go straight to the league at that point. So you have 5 days in Teaneck, New Jersey, a la the Tracy McGrady story, a la Gerald Green in 2004, a la what Sean Livingston, Josh Smith, Dwight Howard, Darrell Wright, Sebastian Telfair, all that 2004 class when you had 8 high school guys come, that 1 week could put you on the platform. We had NBA guys working camp that week. So it was just it was like the mecca. Not only were we close to New York being in New Jersey, but everyone who cared about basketball and the future of basketball was right there. And it ranged, let's just say it was 200 kids. Sometimes we're a little more, sometimes we had a couple less, but you had 200 dudes in there. And out of those 200 dudes, those 14 to 16 teams we had, each team had 4 or 5 future NBA pros on that one time, if not more. So the goal of that camp was to how do we create the best platform for elite high-level college basketball? No, for future college basketball players. More importantly, those future NBA draft picks. But from an Adidas standpoint, we wanted to say that we had the best product. We were trying to compete with the other shoe brands. So it was a marketing vehicle. ABCD camp as a whole was a marketing vehicle from a brand standpoint, from a platform standpoint, which Sonny and Pam Vaccaro created. It was how do we give this opportunity for these kids to be seen at one time? That's back when you had Walls Prather bringing 20 guys from Georgia that no one had ever heard of. You had kids coming from Mississippi, kids coming from deep Florida. So you may have someone who never had even been to the city until those 5 days in July attending ABCD camp.
You just mentioned something very interesting, talking about being competitive against the other companies. Your main rival at that time was Nike. They also had a camp during that time. And how fierce was that rivalry? You got any examples on how fierce that camp rivalry was, or just the brand rivalry period?
Wow. The rivalry between Adidas and Nike, because that's the rivalry I can speak on. At that time when I was involved, was heated. I mean, that was my job, was literally 51 weeks a year. We worked to dominate that week, that 1 week. And the genesis of it, Nike was a better basketball brand at that time. They still are. It's documented. Footwear retail sales don't lie. They are. Nike's a great brand. They do tremendous things at that level. But for that 1 week, we got in that tail.
Yes, y'all did.
And it wasn't me. It was Sonny's leadership. It was guys throughout the country. I won't even start naming everybody. You name a city, I can tell you who was running it. It was Mike Duncan in Cleveland who was running it. It was Francis Williams in Seattle coming. It was Mitch Malone in Dallas. It was John Urey in Houston. And then it was Ken Harris in Alabama who brought Gerald Wallace and all the things that behind the scenes that made sure that we had the best talent there. That's what it was. But that rivalry was serious. It was intense. And although it was a Nike Adidas thing, those of us in the trenches, we knew it was a George Raveling and Sonny Vaccaro thing. Yeah. We were all lieutenants in that space. And I wasn't a part of that. I came on board later. My job was just to execute and deliver and help us produce the best camp possible each year. And there was a lot of situations that I look back on and I go, man, that was neat to be a part of. And then I tell myself, man, what the hell was we thinking? That's dumb as hell. And I say that now too. We're talking about basketball.
What was the working relationship with Sonny?
The working relationship with Sonny, I was fortunate enough to be an employee of Adidas and work with Sonny at Adidas and Reebok from 1999 to 2000. We did last round ball game was 2007 class. So let's say till spring of 2007. Sonny, and I have to say Pam, because she was as integral in my growth and development, and she had as much equity as anyone in the space in producing those events. I looked up to Sonny. He was a mentor. We battled on occasion because that's what us young dudes, I thought I had it figured out, and he'd have to check me on occasion. And Grace, you don't know what you're talking about. He said that a whole lot of times. But what I learned that the way that he took care of people, the genuine care that him and Pam had and reached out. I mean, one of my favorite quotes from Sonny is, and anyone who knows me has heard me say this, he go, Rivers, don't ever leave anybody outside in the rain without a rain jacket.
Wow.
What he meant by that was, you can't give everyone a contract. You can't sponsor everyone. But you know what? You can probably find 15 bags to help somebody that you care about. You can probably find 24 T-shirts to help so-and-so's program. And that's something I've always thought about. That's the number one thing I remember. And the number two thing that I still remember today, he said, Rivers, treat everybody like they're the next Michael Jordan, and then you're never wrong. And there's times when I still get calls today, even though I'm not on that side of the industry. I'm like, do I really want to take that call? I'm running. I'm like, I got 5 minutes, or I can call somebody back, or I can send them a text and I can schedule a time. So just those two things, he kind of peeped me on just that genuine compassion that I refer to, that he cared for people, is something that I still carry with me today. I know it's been very, very beneficial. So I like to think how I've attempted to treat people on my journey.
Back then, I read Soul Influence. And back then, who was signing off on these deals? Because y'all was giving guys truckloads of money and merchandise. Like, who was the heads up in Adidas decided on they wanted to go with the graphics?
Which deals are you referring to?
Like some of the directors way back in the day. I was reading
back before 1999. Let's just say that's BC. Before.
Okay. All right.
I don't want to speak to anything there because I wasn't there.
All right.
I know who was sitting in that seat, but I can't give you truth. From 1999 to me rolling with Sonny through 2006 when we were at Done Deals, Sonny was directing most of it. And then it got to the point where he started to give me trust, and I started to understand market value, and I started to understand putting deals together. Now, I'm not sure what you were reading, but I can truly tell you, if we got any of these guys on this platform right now, they'd go, it wasn't enough. I was still coming out of my pocket, and it wasn't what people thought it was. The
Yeah,
big deals didn't start
I can
happening
feel that.
until the 2000s. I don't care what you, Mike. The big deals didn't happen until,
Okay.
and it really jumped up when we jumped to a Reebok. When we switched to
Mm.
Reebok, and you had three brands competing, then you had a race because Reebok became an immediate player the day Sonny Vaccaro joined forces, and I was fortunate enough to go along with him. Reebok went from challenger
Mm-hmm.
to champion contender in one move.
Okay. Okay.
And
Now
they
my
also
next.
provided a lot of resources for us to go out and make some things happen quickly.
Mm. Now, ever since I've been around AAU basketball, it's been every coach that had a son and he developed a team. He always had a dream in his mind of one day getting a deal. You know what I mean? What
Yes.
qualified teams when you went to see them that you would give them a deal? What were the qualifications in your mind?
During that time, let me break this up because I've done this in two different segments. I did it from 99 to 07.
Mm-hmm.
Then I jumped back again at 2015. At that time, when we were doing it in the 2000s, if you didn't have someone on your team who we used to call rock stars, if you didn't have someone
Mm,
on your team who was a rock star, meaning was
mm,
going to be McDonald's All American, was going to be a potential first round pick before '06 change, was going to come out of the straight out of high school, have a chance to go straight to the league. That's kind of the barometer we were looking at. Of course, everyone didn't do it. You had to have elite guys from whatever your area was where you were the best. And at that time, Mike, as you remember, there weren't as many teams as there are now.
I know.
So a lot of what we did, a lot of the alienation we created by being so elitist, we were very elite. You had some guys who said, hey, if I can't play in that park, I'm taking my ball and I'm going to another park and I'm inviting other people. And that opened up opportunities for others. And
Mm,
right now, that just exploded and exploded. You had kid XYZ who wasn't good enough to play on, let's say, Mitch Malone's Texas Blue Chips. So he ended up going to play with Urban DFW and Jazzy Hartwell, rest his soul. Every
mm,
opportunity that somebody was not afforded created an opportunity for someone else to create a platform to get something rolling as well. But the bottom line, we were looking for guys who had top 50, top 100 players on their team. And you had to have two or three.
I remember. I remember.
Yeah.
What's the one of the best deals you made? Where you look back and say, "I'm glad I signed them."
That's a great question, Mike. I like to think I have a lot of them, or I wasn't very good at my job. Um, I think there's a couple ways of me answering that question. The best deal I signed when I look back is someone who I still have a relationship with today. And that doesn't mean I'm texting guys now. When I walk in the gym and I see somebody I may not have seen for 10 years, these are guys who were in high school now and their NBA careers are over. And when I see somebody
Mm,
and they look at me and they give me a hug and they say, good to see you, Rivers, that makes me feel good. But as far as
mm,
just the business side of what we did, at Adidas, when I got there, it was pretty wired. I didn't have to do too much going out signing teams. Sonny and Darren and his immediate lieutenants, Thad Fouché, Mott, the Pumps, Mac Irvin, Wallace, who am I forgetting? Of course, Jimmy, Curtis Malone. They kind of had it dialed in. My job was just to keep the train rolling. But when we went to Reebok in fall of '03, starting the spring of '04, I can definitely say I had my hand in signing Spiece Indy Heat. That was
mm,
probably Spiece Indy Heat, D1 Greyhounds, and SoCal All
mm,
Stars all in 3 months.
mm. Wow,
And out of
that
that
was
team,
loaded. That was
out of
loaded.
those teams, those 3 teams,
That was loaded.
I mean, Spiece had 7 NBA players on their team at one point. The
Mm-hmm.
Greyhounds had 5.
Mm-hmm.
SoCal All Stars between K Love, Brandon Jennings, Renardo Sidney, although his career did not go where we thought it was going to go. There wasn't anyone better than him at his time. Just those 3 teams alone, we were putting in work, and we had put significant, some of us documented, investments around those programs, but they
Mm-hmm.
needed it. That's just where
Mm-hmm.
the competition was. Nike had already been dominating. Adidas, which we had left 6 months earlier, was still figuring out what they were doing without us gone. They weren't trying to have us get Reebok started. So when I came to your door, I got you on the phone, or I might have flown to your town. I was sitting in front of you. I'm on the phone. Hold on, Sonny wants to talk to you. Pass the phone.
Mm.
And we were getting deals like that. So I was the one on the ground, I-75, I-95, whatever 95 I could make up, doing that, and Sonny was the one just closing that. If Sonny said something was going to happen, done. And my job was to figure it out.
I like the way that you guys added the hip hop part to it, and when Nike was seen as being like super corporate and suit and tie,
Yep.
you guys added the hip hop part to it, and it made the like y'all was more connected to the culture. You know what I mean? I definitely like that part of it.
No, we were very fortunate at that time when we were at Reebok for Reebok as a brand to realize that they were shifting from sport performance being their primary messaging vehicle to lifestyle was more influential for them. So, I mean, they switched their brand name from Reebok to RBK while we were there. And how lucky could we get not only to have the legacy of what AI had already done in his footwear and his business and his impression on the culture, but then you bring in S. Dot with Sean Dot Carter footwear. You bring in 50 Cent with the G Unit sneaker. Then you have Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z, show up and sit courtside at ABCD camp. Stop it.
I remember that. I
mean, that was, and today, so when rappers show up to games in high school, they've been doing that for 15 years. That was definitely one of the biggest moments that kind of started that. And that's when young high school athletes were able to start creating these relationships on the musical side. I'm sure it was happening regionally and locally in people's communities, but on the national scale. And that obviously led to, I mean, when LeBron and Melo played in Jersey in 2002 All-Star Weekend, when everyone was in Philly for the All-Star Weekend, then they drove up to that game.
Yeah, I was there in Trenton. That's where I'm from. I'm from Trenton.
Picture there would have been social media, bro. You've had this conversation, Mike. LeBron and Melo, they sold out that venue with no social media, no tweets, no IG posts.
I was there.
It was just the word of mouth. Hoop, 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 hoop. People knew where to go. So, but to answer that question, when I look back and I saw Mike Conley Sr. in July. I think he had Mike Conley Jr. still playing, doing pretty good. Greg Odom, pre-knee injury, did pretty good. Eric Gordon still playing right now.
I remember that.
Jeff Teague was on that team.
Ooh.
Josh McRoberts played. Daquan Cook was drafted first round on that team.
I remember him.
And I'm missing one because I always forget one. But
I think he played with OJ and them. The kid that had the braids. What his name was? Tyus. He played with OJ and them. I think he played on.
Tyus was from Mississippi and he played with the Greyhounds. He had He had some creative addressing going at that time. Looking back at it. No, but the Greyhounds themselves. You had OJ Mayo and Bill Walker in the 07 class, that was
crazy.
I mean, OJ played for 8 years. I'm not sure where he's playing now, but OJ's still probably my top 3 or 4 high school players I've ever been around consistently. And Bill had a great.
I never seen a kid that young in high school that was that polished.
See, I didn't see Kobe. I didn't see those guys. That's why I can't speak to anything before 99. I mean, I saw guys, but that's a whole other conversation. There wasn't at that time. And I'm still looking for someone that efficient. His game was beyond his years.
Yeah, it was definitely polished. It was definitely
beyond his years. So.
I wanna this part of the segment, we're gonna end off with the ABCD with my 5 cards. Now, 5 card segment is I put a card up and tell me what you thought about during that time and what comes to your mind. First, I'm gonna line it up for you. All right. Let's start off with this. Now, what I want to know is, how was it from your point of view there? And what damage control did y'all have to do in the background between the 2 camps? Like what was going on off the court? First talk about on the court, and then talk about what was going on behind the scenes after this happened.
First off, you trying to get me to give you a preview of a whole chapter of the book, but I'm gonna give you a snippet, Mike. You're my brother. I'm gonna give you a snippet.
Okay.
I mean, I'm looking at this picture and I'm just smiling because first off, I'm tripping off. Okay, that's OJ in the All-Star game uniform. That's Lance in the camp uniform. That's back when we had uniforms for the regular camp. Then you made the All-Star game, and Nando Diabasi would flip the uniforms. They'd come in from Italy. One day they was coming late. I mean, crazy stuff. But this matchup between OJ, who we just mentioned was one of the most polished high school players we've ever seen, and you had a young Lance aka Born Ready Stevenson, coming in not giving a damn about what was going on. And the matchup those two guys had, you would think it was like a 15-round fight, and they only played against each other for 2 quarters, because that's back when you split the quarters up. But knowing we were in New Jersey, I had never even been to Coney Island at that point in my life. But you would think I had, because Lance and his whole family and his crew came in. I can still hear Stretch, his dad, support him in the background. We don't back down from nobody. We don't back down from nobody. And OJ wasn't a talker. Really. He was an assassin. You talk, whop, OJ hit you with a tray. You talk, crossover, step back, off, leaning back, whop, hit you with a tray. Lance was bullying people early before. I saw Lance about a year ago in Las Vegas. He looked fantastic, just chiseled. But Lance was bullying before bullying was really, how we accept it today. But that was one of those games where, and me, I was part of the one who was producing the event. I had to make sure, I didn't have to protect no one, but I had to make sure that basketball stayed at the forefront, and the heat and the culture and the fans and the energy got to a point where do we need to do something different here? Because we had to make sure we kept it basketball. As far as off the court, Lance carried himself like a gentleman. OJ carried himself like a gentleman. Those two really didn't have beef. It's always the adults. And it wasn't like OJ came with a camp, but he had a couple of his dudes there. All of New York, all of Coney was riding for Lance. And just, all the grown men who just want to be a part of something. Sometimes I look back and go, why we get so excited? These guys were 15 and 17 years old. We didn't even really give them a chance to breathe. It's almost like we threw them in the Coliseum back in Rome. And just gladiators, get it on. But we also shot some magazine cover shoots that week. I remember we were doing that off because we had OJ, K Love, Bill Walker, and Derrick Rose on the cover of Student Sports that year. Chris Stone and my man Bird Schwalla pulled that off. That was dope. Those 4 guys, 4 of the top 7 players in the country, were at our camp. So Derrick Rose showing up to camp in 06. Derrick was hurt that week.
I remember that.
He still came to camp. That. So people was like, oh, Derrick is not there. He's from Chicago. All the New York chatter. He ain't all this. Okay, he silenced all that. But Derrick came, but he wasn't able to play. But the only top players that wasn't there that week, Eric Gordon was at the Adidas camp. Mike Beasley was at the Adidas camp. And I forgot who the top Nike player was. But Jared Bayless was at our camp this year too. No, it was Jared. Jared was there too. Oh man, so we had an unbelievable roster of guys. But the OJ Lance Stevenson matchup, since we're doing your cards, was something that I grew up a lot on as far as knowing how to manage people. I had to go in, diffuse situations. I had to calm emotions down before they got too excited, because you would think this was the last basketball matchup in the history of mankind. And all the heat was going on. But that's what made ABCD Camp special.
Okay.
We made sure, whether it was the Gary DeCesar era, or the Lou Reynold era, or the Gary Charles, or all the other guys who sat in a room and spent lots of time making sure we had the teams as balanced as we could. Then we got the right matchups at the right day, the right matchups at the right time, the right day, the right matchups at the right time, the right day on the right court mattered. So all these factors were going in. We were strategically placing these things together to make sure that when it happened, it all catapulted to the right time. And this was a powder keg, as they say. It could have exploded. It could have just, but we were able to keep it together because I knew OJ, because I got to know Lance. I knew Tiny Morton. If we didn't have the rapport we had with the adults as people, it could have been completely different. So anytime we were bringing all this heat together, we knew we were messing with fire, but we also knew that, yo, Tiny, I got you. Chill down. Tiny, need you to go talk to Pops. Stretch, we good, bro. We good. OJ's people, no, they all right. No, that wasn't a hard foul. It was a good foul. I mean, we had all these conversations. And I never refereed one game at that point in camp. But I had a lot of conversations with referees, though.
I love it. I love it. All right, next up. Sebastian Telfair, Darius Washington. Now, my question is, the matchup, Derek, I remember Darius came up and he was hungry. He said he had
Fordham. This game was at Fordham, right?
No, I'm talking about when they was at camp. But
camp.
Over to the Florida. I was trying to find the
Okay.
camp picture, I couldn't, so I used
Okay.
in this one. But I remember an article with him saying he had Sebastian picture on his mirror in the bathroom, and he came up searching for him. So I wanted you to talk about what happened in camp, and is this kind of competitiveness lost today?
Oh, that's a mouthful. The Darius Washington. For those of you who don't know who are watching, it's got to be some YouTube highlights of Darius Washington. We all know of the magnificent high school career that Sebastian Telfair had.
Mm-hmm.
But Darius Washington and his pops, Darius Washington Sr., they came from Orlando, Florida. They came to ABCD camp looking for Sebastian Telfair. That is, I mean, there's no other way to explain it.
I know, I remember that.
That is, and I don't know if kids even think like that anymore. But at that time, Darius and his dad, because they were a duo, they were a team. He was, I want to call him the hype man. He was more than that. They came to ABCD camp looking for that matchup. And Sebastian was always he was a wizard. He was able to always maneuver, and Darius was having none of it. None of it. I won't say I can recollect exact how it ended, but the intensity of that matchup, because they are 04 class. So this would have been camp 03. This was the camp after LeBron and after Mel and after Lenny. I mean, it was, and ironically, that was the same camp we had Dwight Howard and Josh Smith and Sean Living. So we had a lot of stuff going on. But to have two guys, 6'2", playing like this is the final game of their lives, and everybody on the sideline telling, "You're not tired, go at him. Go at him. No, go at him again." It was basically, Mike, a one-on-one matchup with 8 other guys on the court.
Okay.
You didn't get any points for coming down, making the right play, and finding it. You had to come down and get a bucket. And the other players on the court just started realizing, I'm probably not going to see the ball very much. I'm just going to, it was cardio for them, as the kids say. It was cardio. But this matchup was about Brooklyn versus Orlando. And Darius wanted to make sure everyone knew his name when he left camp, if you didn't already know it. And Darius was a killer. I mean, he was an elite high school talent.
Do you think this competitive nature is missing now?
I know that it's not there. I don't want to say it's missing because I'd have to think about that. I mean, it was special to be a part of these, but I also look back sometimes and I'm a little more seasoned, a little more older, and wondering where we setting up these young men for down the line by putting so much stress and pressure on them at that time.
Good point.
A lot of the young men who we pushed and celebrated and promoted and didn't achieve where we thought they were going to get to are still struggling and carrying that mental obstacle with them right now. So I'd have to, it'd be fun to see it in an environment, but it started with someone like Sonny, who was a man of the people. People were never going to disrespect Sonny Vaccaro. I like to think that my relationships with people were genuine. I definitely had words with some guys and had to sometimes remind guys, no fake bravado stuff, all good business, carry yourself like a gentleman. But I don't know how many people in the industry right now. There's a couple guys out there. I won't even say that there's not. But Sonny had a special magical touch to create this environment, and he had a great team around him. All of us at ABCD camp, we knew it was going to get tense. But everyone knew, don't let it break. As much as I mentioned Gary Charles and mentioned myself and mentioned DeCesar before he went to go coach, everyone else who was there knew that they had a responsibility to not let Ish get out of hand, but to let it boil as much as it could, though. And then right after it happened, one went to grab one kid, one to grab another one, make sure they shook hands, kind of check the temperature in the stands. If it was a pound or a handshake, might have been a hug. It may have been nothing, depending upon who the matchup was. But because we had that respect and that relationship with everyone, with most of the key actors, with the main role players, we have the ability to get it turned up. But right now, it's just a different climate. It's just a different environment. As much as I attend a lot of grassroots stuff, I'm not in those war rooms. I'm not sure what they're trying to achieve. But it was just a different time and culture.
I definitely took your motto and used it for my camps and tournaments and stuff, that kind of atmosphere, you know what I'm saying, and definitely added excitement to the events. And one of the reasons I had my tournaments and hoop group down in Neptune was because the way the courts was built. it
Right.
had that kind of intensity to it. So I definitely learned that from you guys.
Yeah, but you also had that rapport when you were matching guys up. You knew the guys you were bringing in. And you
Yeah,
have to know who your people are. You just couldn't bring in
yeah,
someone you didn't know.
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, we couldn't have
Exactly.
nothing go wrong. As much as this is fundamentally based in basketball,
Mm-hmm.
we were spending big brand dollars that week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, we couldn't embarrass my employers at Adidas. We couldn't embarrass my employees at Reebok. Everyone from New York media was writing. That's back when NBA reporters used to come out and cover high school basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of responsibility to make sure that we delivered a great product, but that we kept it professional at the same time.
All right. Got a big one next up.
Nah, what you got for me now? Give me another ace.
LeBron becomes the king. Now, word is that after he came and took the camp by storm, you know, the matchup with Lenny and all that kind of stuff. The King James name comes from a T-shirt y'all had in his room when he went in his room. Like, can you elaborate on that?
I can elaborate on most of that.
Okay.
LeBron came to ABCD camp. Let me just put some historical context. In 2001, this image is from 2001. I'm looking at his hair right now. He probably has braids going, but he also played with the afro that week too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know who the hell braided his hair.
I remember that.
He was there. So that's when he had the infamous matchup with Lenny Cook. That's when he played against. No, him and Carmelo didn't even play against each other.
Mm-mm.
Because Carmelo came from Baltimore and was only at camp for one day. Carmelo had to go back to summer school.
Okay.
So, but those three incredible wing players being there at the same time was something that kind of drove camp. As far as the question you asked about when did he become king, I don't remember exactly how that started. I know that his senior year, we created merchandise.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yes.
T-shirt.
Oh, no. Adidas as a brand, I still have some of the T-shirts. We had a whole campaign. We had T-shirts. We had a lot of things leading up to kind of showing a preview of if he decided to sign with Adidas once he got out of high school, that would be some of the marketing that we did. And his name being James, biblical reference, royalty, we all that was it was a logical. But there's a guy by the name of John Cinco I used to work with. He was in charge of the T-shirt design side and the Adidas had apparel. Him and his team did some really dope creative stuff. And I have a cutoff sleeve gray T-shirt I have, and I might have one more thing. I wish I would have been a little more responsible with some of those items looking back. That was 20 years ago. No, 21 years ago.
I read that you guys were in pursuit so hard. They had moved somebody out to Akron to be out there with them and the family. So you do this and you do that, and then he signs with Nike. How did that feel at that moment when y'all knew that he was going to sign with them after putting in all this work?
How do we feel when LeBron told us, no, thank you, I'm going to go sign with the other guys?
Yeah.
It sucked. Number one, it was awful. I was hurt. You made reference to, you read that Adidas moved someone out to Akron. Not true.
Okay.
You're looking at the guy who was in Akron every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I was at the Courtyard by Marriott. There was no Airbnb back then, bro. I was at the Courtyard by Marriott.
Okay.
They used to have a Krispy Kreme donut shop. My man Chris Dennis used to take me to. That's a whole nother conversation. But I wasn't there alone. Len Merritt from Nike. There's a time we was at Outback Steakhouse after a game. I'm at one side of the table. Len Merritt's at the other side of the table. LeBron, Glow. I don't think Mav was there. Eddie Jackson. We were all at the same table. That's the respect. Obviously, Len, nothing but respect. Legend. You talk about a real legend's legend. But we were in the same hunt. So my job was to be the forefront. That's where I really got the opportunity to grow and really learn and expand who I was in this industry. Sonny was doing the heavy lifting. He was dealing with the corporate folks in Germany. He was dealing with the media. That was his job. My job was to make sure LeBron and Glow had what they needed. We sponsored St. Vincent St. Mary's High School.
I remember
the
that.
team had what they needed. Drew Joyce. And that time in my life, I knew it was special then, but looking back at it, and LeBron, I don't see him a lot. If I see him, there's genuine love. We had a moment in 2017 that document in another story. But he did more than any of us thought any of us thought we were going to do. When we had our meeting with him in Santa Monica, which is documented in a couple of different books, we flew him and 4 of his best friends out, private jet from Akron to Santa Monica for the meeting, documented. I was on that plane with my colleague and good friend, Travis Gonzalez. We were hyped. We thought we couldn't lose. We had a platform. We were prepared with the investment. We had creative stories. I mean, we had everything. But I'll tell you the truth. When I rode back with him in the car and we took him back to the airport, I didn't fly back with him. Something in my gut just told me we fell short somewhere. And we didn't have the official word at that point, but you can read somebody's. He gave you one of those pounds nose hugs, like, appreciate your rib, thanks for everything, but I ain't coming. That's the kind of hug I got. And then 2 weeks later, we found out he decided, and that's before we even knew what Reebok had did, and before he decided to ultimately go with Nike. Then when I read 15, 16 years later, some of the lengths that Nike went to show how serious they were about their investment, I thought we went here, they went there, and maybe there. So, I mean, he definitely went to the right spot for him, and he's done his part. Nike's a great brand. They've done their part. They've been great partnerships. I mean, they've changed the world and done things. But to just be that close in that race, definitely no sour grapes. I may not be sitting here the way I'm sitting here if he would have said yes. You would think it would have played out the same way. No guarantee. But that's a whole nother episode for me just to give you more insights to that, Chase.
There's one last question about it. I also read about, they said the year that he came with the broken wrist and he didn't participate in camp, they said he wore Nike to the Adidas camp and he wore Adidas stuff to the Nike camp.
He was a damn fool. 100% accurate. LeBron James.
Hold on. One more question before you get into it. Was he one of the first ones to get y'all to have to really negotiate? Or like in terms of a lot of kids before that, were they loyal to you guys and y'all knew y'all was going to sign them? Did that move change the way players made y'all negotiate?
LeBron James showing up to ABCD camp wearing white on white Air Force Ones. I don't think it changed any of our business.
Okay.
And number 28, Eric Dickerson throwback jersey. Let's just keep it what he had on.
Okay.
It showed his self-awareness of the industry at an early time. That's what it did. Because he wasn't playing. Yeah. So he wasn't on the court wearing Nikes. We wouldn't have handled that. Even LeBron James would have been told to get back on the bus, sit in the stands, go sit in the trainer's table. We wouldn't handle that. That just would have been too far. But coming to camp as a guest, which is what he was at that time, and then he turned around and did the same thing. He went to both camps in the same week.
I know. I remember that.
So for those of us who are historians and know that ABCD camp and the Nike All-American camp operated at the exact same times. So the man from Akron popped up in Teaneck, New Jersey, which we were happy to have him. Of course, people were like, why is he wearing Nikes? Why is he doing all that? You guys are sponsoring Heights. We're like, will y'all just shut up and let LeBron be LeBron, please, and just be guys that see it. Don't mess with the money. Y'all can't let him do that. And we're like, I had many conversations. Not your job. Sonny said it's good. Chris Rivers is good. That's it.
Okay.
But I felt much better when he showed up in Indianapolis wearing Adidas. I'm like, him and his team, wherever it came from, they know what they're doing.
Okay. Now this one, a little different, but I want to get your take. Was it too much too soon for Ronaldo, Sidney, and Lenny Cook in terms of their career? What do you think happened?
I'm closer to Ronaldo. I was part of Ronaldo's journey from 8th grade. I talked to Ronaldo Sidney a month ago. I'm actually part of a team that Tony Chenault is doing a documentary on him.
Wow.
Yes.
Tony Chenault, my guy, man. Wow.
I have been Tony's doing fantastic. So we started filming that 6 or 7 weeks ago. We're trying to track down a couple NBA guys. I won't put their name out right now because they know I'm looking for them. But Ronaldo, I can speak to a lot differently. One thing about Lenny, I didn't know Lenny personally. Lenny came into camp. That was only my 3rd year. I didn't have a rapport with Lenny or his camp. And being from New York, you know it's better than I do. New York just breeds their young stars differently. So I don't know if too much is too soon because I don't know all that he had going on.
Okay. Okay.
But
That's
I
fair.
do know that the NBA is a grown man's business,
Mm.
and sometimes things don't translate. I don't know anything Lenny had going on. I wish him well. I actually spoke to him. I saw him. He was at the Iverson Classic practice. I went up and spoke to him because I didn't even know him that well. So I just want to
Okay.
introduce myself,
Okay.
told him thank you, hope he was doing well. But Renardo Sidney, I know that the stress and pressure of the journey he was on, and
Mm.
he said it, was too much. And that's where I look back and go, where could I have been better? What did I do that? I always like to say I used to make the Kool-Aid and pour it, but I never drank it. Maybe in that process,
Mm.
I put a little too much sugar in it. Not taking blame, but I take responsibility that as a man, I was close. What could I have said to him? What could I have said to his family? I wasn't experienced enough. As now, it would definitely be different because I just know more. But I also think that we don't realize, as much as we're promoting these young men,
Mm-hmm.
we're putting them on planes, we're giving them shoes, and not even talk about this, the whole different space that they're in right now, the stress and pressure that comes with just waking up every day, being who you are.
Yeah.
Just because you're talented in basketball don't mean that you want all the stuff that comes with it.
Mm.
And us as a culture, we need to figure it out really, really quickly. Or there's going to be consistently every year 4 or 5 kids who don't make it, not due to talent, not due to opportunity, strictly because of the mental stress of just being on this journey is too much. And the last thing they want to do is go out and be judged or celebrated in this culture, in this environment. And that's a whole nother show as well. But
Oh.
Renardo, I mean, I can definitely think of things that I wish I would have possibly said differently, or would have, or me and his family could have at least talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But the stress and the pressure he was under to be that person for his family, for next generations, it was a lot of, and he had big shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And you could kind of see his senior year of high school, he kind of started changing. In
Yeah.
LA, he kind of started getting comfortable. And
Uh-huh.
I'll definitely let him tell his own story when this doc comes out. But it wasn't someone who was just chasing. When we saw him in 8th grade at Bob Gibbons' tournament in North Carolina, it was my man Rodney Guillory, my man Patrick Coombs. We were at his tournament. We were like, that's Renardo Sidney Jr. And he was looking like
I
Lamar
remember.
Odom. You
I
couldn't tell him
remember.
nothing.
I remember.
But I tell parents, you really don't want your kid ranked number 1. I'm telling you, that's the worst thing that could happen to anyone at any time, to carry that stress and pressure. Everyone thinks they want it. You really don't want that. Because where can you go, Mike? Where can you go from 1?
Down. I
That's it.
thought that, in my opinion, I thought the move to Cali changed a lot for him. I thought
I
that.
mean,
I
a
thought
move from
that. I
Mississippi
thought.
to anywhere would change
Yeah.
anybody.
But I thought that staying in Mississippi, he might would have stayed a little hungrier. That's just my personal opinion
I
as a
agree.
fan.
And
That was just my opinion as a
I mean,
fan.
but he also wouldn't have been on Melrose. He wouldn't have been at
Yeah.
Fairfax. He wouldn't have won
Yeah.
a state champ at Artesia. He would have never played SCA All Stars.
Yeah.
He never
Yeah.
would have played with all those guys. So I'm not saying, I guarantee you, when he tells his story, he'll probably articulate some of that. But kids move all the time. Families move all the time.
Yeah.
We as professionals move all the time.
Yeah.
But the spotlight he was under, that
I know.
once again, he moved his freshman year. He was great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He was great his sophomore year. A lot transpires when kids are 15 to when they become 18. It's a lot of work that goes into that process.
Now this last one, I know you said you didn't see a couple of these players live, but I know you probably saw footage or things.
Well, I can definitely tell you I can tell you what the narrative was for sure.
All right, I want you to rank these 4 as high school players, only as high school players. All right,
I ain't gonna do it. Go ahead.
Boom. LeBron, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, and Tim Thomas. 1 through 4.
First off, you are not having people hitting me up on my DMs. I am not ranking any of this. Stop it. I'm gonna tell you why you're wrong, Mike. See, I thought you told me we was gonna come on here as gentlemen. You're trying to get me in some mess, bro. Stop it. I think what we need to do is celebrate each of their greatness. First off,
okay.
LeBron graduated in 03.
Okay.
T-Mac 97.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe 96.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Thomas was 97 as well, right?
96.
96. So him and Kobe.
Yeah, they was in the same McDonald's game.
Okay, thank you for that clarity, Jimmy Salmon. Forgive me. These three guys, McGrady, Thomas, and Bryant, made it possible for LeBron to do what he did. They kicked in the door, waving the 4-4, literally. And with the help of Sonny Vaccaro behind them, making sure that the GMs and the NBA teams knew that these young guys were ready to come, they changed it. So, I mean, you could have thrown Jermaine O'Neal in here too if you really just wanted to mess with my head. Jermaine was a part of that as well. But each of these guys all have made iconic statements in their high school basketball careers while they were at ABCD camp.
Okay.
And I think that's where we should be.
Okay. Okay. I respect that. I respect that. You've been a good guy this whole thing, so I respect that. I respect that.
I will tell you, can I tell you a quick fun story? We were at Las Vegas, summer of 2002, the summer that LeBron was hurt. Tracy McGrady was with Adidas at that time, for those who didn't know. Sonny and myself, we helped put a meeting together for them, just to meet, a meet and greet. Here's our icon. LeBron, we want you to come be the next one. LeBron walks in there and says, "What's up?" I don't remember exactly the quote, but LeBron said something, "Hey, Mac, respect you. Nice to meet you, but I'm coming for you." And Mac kind of looks at him. At that time, couldn't tell Mac nothing. He kind of brushed up. "Okay, young fella, I'll be here when you get here." And it was one of the things I was like, "Ooh." It wasn't in a disrespectful manner. It was just one of those multiple moments I saw LeBron display that says, we always hear the phrase, "We playing chestnut checkers." He was thinking 3 and 4 moves ahead of the game. He wasn't trying to come at Tracy, but he was basically trying to let him know, I'm confident in who I am. I see what you're doing in the NBA court. I respect it, but I can do that too. And it was just subtle, but it was so well articulated.
When you look at his talent, I mean, you could see LeBron was just a different animal. But one thing that I seen that I knew he was different, he's the first player I ever seen when I heard Dick Vitale said didn't have to go to college. When I heard Dick Vitale say he don't got it, because Dick Vitale was pro college for everybody.
That's how Dickie V makes his money. He needed them guys on TV. He needed big money.
When he said this kid don't got to go to college, I was like, yeah, he was in a totally different lane. Now, before we close the book on ABCD, how was that conversation was you in the room when Kobe had the conversation with Lenny Cook?
I was not.
Okay. All right. So to end up the ABCD, how was it when it had to end?
ABCD camp, the last one we had was summer of 2006. We were at Reebok.
Okay.
I don't think we knew it was ending then. Sonny ended his relationship with Reebok in 2007. So when we started Reebok RBKU, when I was under the Reebok umbrella, Sonny was no longer with Reebok. That's why we had to transition. We had to do a whole new name, new rebranding. We were still taking the learnings that we had gathered from Sonny and Pam. So RBKU was fundamentally ABCD camp, but we had to remix it. We had to add new elements. We had to kind of rebrand it because we had to make sure we kept doing business. But I miss those days. Sonny or Pam coined the phrase 5 days in July. Those were my favorite 5 days in July. In 2001, we kept going back to the LeBron story. My son was born on July 9th. I flew back to Portland. Flew back to Portland, 10-hour flight. 10-hour travel time. Got to the hospital. My wife still hadn't had him. I walked into the delivery room. My son was born in 5 minutes. I stayed home for a day. I flew back to ABCD camp for the last day in 36 hours. That's how committed I was to what was going on. I don't know how happy my wife was at that point. I got to go. This was 5 days. This was the most important 5 days of my life. And that was a crazy, hectic week anyway. So I'm appreciative for all that I learned, all the growth I did as a professional, as an individual, for all the incredible relationships I've had with people from every level. I mean, I miss Tootie, and we all know who Tootie is. I mean, there's just some characters that will never be forgotten through the ABCD camp experience. But I look forward to hopefully Sonny doing something from an entertainment piece, a doc or something that people can kind of just see all of the lives that he changed through that platform.
Man, I want to thank you for going down memory lane with me with the ABCD camp. Now let's get into Chris of today. Let's talk about Tribute Sports Management.
Okay. Tribute Sports Management is a company I started in 2018 when I knew I wanted to be in basketball.
Okay. Okay.
Right now, it's kind of dormant. It's not doing basketball right now because I work at Excel Sports Management right now. But Tribute Sports was my way of how do I stay close to the game. I didn't want to be a certified agent. How do I help families and athletes navigate this process?
Okay.
And so do that. So that's why I created Tribute Sports Management. A lot of key learnings came out of that. I learned that the agency game is a lot harder than it looks. I learned that flying around the country costs a lot more on your own American Express card than your paper card. Real rap. But I also learned a lot about myself. I learned that your word is still your word. I learned a lot about people. The best thing I can learn from people I thought I was close to was when they told me, Riv, I hear you, but I can't help you. That's the best you can get. A genuine, kind, upfront no is much better than a whoop-de-whoop. Well, I see, man, I got you. Let me connect. We don't have time for all that. So Tribute Sports Management was created as a way for me to get back into the business and continue to do what I love to do, which is just kind of connect people. I'm a connector. That's what I do. What do I do best? I connect people. And some people will go, well, what does that mean? That means I can see value in someone and help connect them to someone else who sees value and bring that partnership together. My ability is to just kind of keep stuff on the tracks, as I say. That's what I do really, really well. So that was what Tribute Sports was. And Tribute Sports Management right now is passed off to my man, Chris Dennis, who's doing some things in the memorabilia space. Tribute Sports Camps is operating. But right now, I'm fully vested in my role at Excel Sports Management right now.
Talk to us about Excel. What do you do there?
My role at Excel Sports Management, I'm the Senior Director of NIL Recruitment.
Okay.
Which means I work in the basketball division. We have an incredible team of 12 NBA agents. We are a large agency group. And I'm one of 2 non-certified people in that group who help drive the basketball business. My role is to fly around the country or drive, because I do a lot of driving when I'm on the road, and create relationships with families and players who we think are going to be NBA first-round picks. And that's what I do. So some people call it a corporate runner, an exec. I connect dots with families. And then I partner with the different agents in our group to hopefully get them to see that Excel is a great option for them to partner with for their career journey. And with the NIL kicking in July 1 in 2001, it's allowed us to have conversations with athletes and families at a much earlier age than we ever could in 2000. Much earlier age. So, I mean, I'm at a lot of grassroots basketball events right now, a lot of high school events, recruiting. And I can talk to kids, I can talk to families, I can educate them about how we see them down the line. But it's a very elite level type of player that we're trying to pursue. And that's what I do at Excel Sport. I work with great people. The company was founded in 2002 by Jeff Schwartz and Sam Goldfeder. Jeff is one of the most reputable agents in the business. On the NBA side, we have 55 plus NBA clients: Jamal Murray, Brandon Ingram, the Joker. Of course, I'm always forgetting guys. And you got veterans like Kevin Love and Kemba Walker and John Collins. I mean, it's just so many great players. Chris Middleton. But Excel is an incredible agency because not only do we have basketball, they have full service golf representation business, full service baseball representation business. Tiger Woods is a client. Derek Jeter's a client. And we just bought Rep One Football. Now we have Excel Football. So we have a whole football entity that just came on board about 30 or 45 days ago. So main office is based in New York, office in LA, office in Miami, where Jeff is. There's an office outside of Portland where I live, my house. But no, I've been very, very fortunate to be able to come on board with them. It's been almost about 2 years now. So they give me an opportunity to do what I do well, which is go out and be in the gym, sit parents down, give them a vision of what we think, how they should navigate this process, and why we think we could be great partners to help them have a great career on this basketball journey.
What if you run into a player like a Julian Newman that wasn't projected to be a D1 player or a top player, but his social media presence is outstanding. Do you guys still try to recruit somebody like that, or is just about how good you are on the court?
For how I don't know Julian personally, so I don't have to speak
Okay.
to, I can't speak to his situation, but I understand what you're asking. What I'm charged with is any player like that, because that's where I work with Mikey Williams. So I brought Mikey to Excel when I was with Tribute. That's kind of how that partnership started. Mikey
Okay.
was both.
Okay.
Dog on the court, one of the best at his
Mm-hmm.
position, period.
Mm-hmm.
He still is. But he was also that unicorn, something we've never seen from an iconic influencer standpoint. From an Excel standpoint, I'm focusing on guys who are going to be NBA basketball players.
Okay.
We have a talent division, and there's some other parts of our company that could look at someone like that. But my role and my responsibilities are I'm looking for players that are ideally going to shake the commissioner's hand after after 1 or 2 years of college, ideally.
How do you feel that NIL has impacted in college in terms of, I know you deal with a lot of the coaches in universities. How are they responded toward the coaches? Is it becoming harder to actually coach the kids, or are the kids still buying into the coaching?
I have never coached a college basketball game. I've coached a lot of people. I have never had to lead that locker room. So anything I share with you is from speaking to coaches.
Okay.
It's always been hard, but it's harder now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not better now.
Okay.
In my personal opinion. Okay. When NIL first kicked in, I started learning about it, and I'm still learning about it because it's changing still, and it's different in different universities, it's different in states, different conferences. But my first question was, what's going to happen when player XYZ is mad because he's not scoring 15 points a game, he's getting 12 points a game, which is affecting his opportunities, and who's going to just navigate that locker room? I think what we're seeing is the universities, the head coaches who know how to manage that locker room and keep basketball first, but also have the kindness and the compassion to understand that NIL's here. It's important. I need to hear and listen to my players, but also need to make sure that I keep the locker room as balanced as possible. Those are the head coaches that are going to be most successful going forward. But we know the head coaches don't want to give up control, and now they don't have the same amount of control that they had. But I think it's, there's definitely some things that probably need to be polished up a little bit, and it probably won't. I hear that new legislation is being proposed and all that. But it's exciting times to think that you can be a college kid, play 4 years at the University of XYZ, do decently with your money. You might be able to come out with $100,000 and buy a house, buy a condo, get an investment when you get done in 4 years. That's great. Now, there's a lot of responsibilities, a lot of deliverables, a lot of time and sacrifice that comes along with that. People just get caught up. How much money can I get from the collective? How many deals can you get me? It's a lot more in between those two questions that people really don't realize until they get into it. And we also see there's a lot of negative things that are happening because I've seen families getting torn apart.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's not ready for this. I think as a society, we should be ready. Don't give me, well, they're only 18. You can go to war, you should be able to manage your own money. But we need to be listening. You need to get with people. Don't have to be Chris Rivers at Excel Sport, but you need to get with someone. Could be someone in your town, could be a family member. You need to get with someone who understands how just to navigate this process and make good decisions. So when you're done, you look back and you feel good about what you did. Don't say that the universities are using you now. They're giving you an opportunity. Would you do it with your 4, or now some of them get 5, some of them get 6 years when it's all done? If you don't have things that you can look back and feel good about, that's your responsibility as an athlete and as a family if you didn't maximize that. I don't think you can point blank. There's too much good information out there, and you have to seek it.
I think that, in my opinion, they should have it where it's like a fund. You collect the money, you put the money up, and then at a certain age, they're allowed to just get it all. You get what I'm saying?
That's an interesting point. When did you have your first job?
Probably I was probably about 14 or something like that. Like a regular job, like working at a school or something like that. Yeah.
And you were getting paid, right?
Yeah.
You think they should have put your money away for 4 years?
You right. You right. All right. I
That's
see
all
your
I'm
point.
saying.
I see your point. I
Yeah.
was just saying
I
that.
get what you're saying, but why do we? But why do we want athletes to wait? We just need to
Yeah.
educate
True.
more.
True.
We don't
True.
educate
True.
anybody else. Do we
True.
want to educate the people in Hollywood, the child actors? Should Gary Coleman have? I mean, some of the
True.
money has to be put away, depending upon your age. But they are young adults. Kids who don't go to college, that's not their path. They're working. They're being charged with paying taxes, saving money up the same responsibility. These athletes have the resources to make better decisions.
Mm.
They just need to do it.
Mm. Now, speaking of that, you said about your relationship with Mikey.
Yes,
He just got cleared of a case,
100%.
and he's been put out in the media a certain way. You know, they try to tie him to hip hop and all of that kind of stuff.
Which
But
he is.
you got a relationship with him. Tell us about the Mikey that we might not know.
The Mikey Williams that most people that don't know is someone who's extremely confident
Mm-hmm.
in his abilities as a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes him just so different is for all this notoriety he's had that's documented for his social media presence, he typically likes being by himself.
Mm.
He doesn't like being in crowds, which
Mm.
is so odd for someone who's that much at the forefront to really like to be by himself. But as I started to get to know, and I had to learn a lot from when I first started to work with him, I thought I was giving him the right information. I was giving him what I thought was right, but I didn't understand him. I didn't understand his journey. He has a strong professional mom. He has a strong professional dad. I wasn't there when they were grinding when he was in 5th and 6th grade and he was flying around from San Diego. All he wanted to do was go chase Bronny, as they talk about. He went everywhere he could where Bronny was playing.
I remember that.
He was on a mission.
I remember that.
And then he got to the point where, he found him and they said, hey, you should probably come play with us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there. That's just what I've been told. But the Mikey people don't know was someone who loves his brother and his sister. He ain't going nowhere without his grandma. Mikey likes to fish. Mikey cooks. Mikey's bougie as hell, though, Mikey, you're bougie as hell. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it on record. But he just wants to hoop, man. He wants to be a PG. He wants to lead a team. He wants to win. He wants to compete, and that's what he wants to do. And 2023 has come with a lot of stuff that we hope no young man would have to go through. But unfortunately, a lot of young men, especially young men that look like us, have had to go through. And now we hope that he has learned some things that are going to put him at peace. Not saying right or wrong. That's not for me to say. Legal, that's where it is. But hopefully he's found some things about himself and he can get back to doing what he loves to do. Mikey's going to be great in whatever he decides to do. I think he's going to be an NBA point guard soon. He has that type of talent. He has that capability. I've seen it. I've been in the gym. But I could also see Mikey waking up one day and going, I'm going to go start this completely new business venture. He's going to be great and kill that. He has a way of just pulling people in. And people are always going to want to see what Mikey's doing. But Mikey, as the hooper, I look forward to him just getting back to his routine and having an opportunity, hopefully sooner than later, to get back and say, hey, I can still hoop pretty well.
When you talk to parents, to finish up with the NIL, when you talk to parents and you sit down with them, what's the baseline advice that you give them when they're seeking these kind of deals?
The baseline advice I give parents, Mike, regarding NIL is, first thing I probably say consistently is, when you hear somebody talk about something that they got, it's probably not factual. Number one, so-and-so got X amount from this school and this collective. It's probably not. What did Nas say? Real G's move in silence. Most people who are not talking about what they got. So people who are talking are usually trying to validate their existence and make themselves feel better. So that's the first thing I tell you. Secondly, I tell you, it's always not greener over there because somebody's willing to invest more in you. That doesn't mean that it's greener. It just means that they're willing to give you more. Third thing is, if your kid really has a chance of shaking the commissioner's hand, being an NBA player, you need to continue to make the best basketball decisions, which means that there may be an opportunity that's less NIL heavy, but more basketball heavy.
Yeah,
I can't make that decision for the family.
I can see that.
And parents need to, I think I'm on number 4 now. Parents got to be parents. Parents can't be fans. Parents can't be homies to their kids because, like you talk about putting it into that fund, that's a parent's responsibility to tell that 17, 18, 19-year-old, I've got you this far. I really haven't steered you wrong. Trust me that I can help you navigate this or bring the correct people into your world that's going to help do it. Because the money gets us all clouded.
Yeah, 100%.
The money, because, and one thing I said it before, it's the work still has to be put in. One of our quotes at Excel is, my guy AT is our compliance director. He says, Rivers, we got to tell these fans they got to keep the main thing, which is a cliche, but it's the truth. Now that you have all these other things coming, I'm texting with kids, yo, when's the next NIL deal coming, Rivers? I'm like, I don't know, bro. You shot 3 for 12 last game. Why are you worried about it? You get back in the gym.
I feel you on that. But
I think parents need to make sure that they remain parents, and they need to make sure that they get the help they need depending upon what their level of sophistication and what they're dealing with. Some parents are fine. I've seen it. They got locked down. Kids ain't touching none of it. Stop it. I heard a dad. I won't put his name out there because he plays at a Power 5 school and he's very, very good. But the dad told me the story one time. He said his son came home and said, Dad, when am I getting that money? And this was when he was a senior in high school. When am I getting that money from that trading card deal? And the dad goes, you already got it. And he goes, word? Where's it at, Dad? And the dad goes, Jack has it. Kid goes, who the hell is Jack? He goes, Jack is your financial advisor. You're not touching that money, bro, till you're 22 years old. He goes, you ain't needed the money a month ago. You definitely don't need it tomorrow. Every family situation is not that. So I'm not saying everyone should do that. But that dad was still parenting his son, even though his son was able to bring in a large amount of money for signing his name to trading cards.
Wow, that's a blessing right there. Now, you just talked about you and Tony coming together for this documentary about Ronaldo Sydney, and you had the opportunity to be involved in a couple of documentaries already.
Yes, I have,
including Gunning for Number One, at all cost, and Manchild. How did you get involved in each one, and give us a little synopsis of each one?
Okay, I'll work backwards. Manchild, for anyone who hasn't seen it, is the documentary of Shea Cotton, who I would still say is the most dominant high school player I've ever seen in my life. At 15, for sure. I haven't seen a better 15-year-old. It doesn't. I'm not saying he isn't out there. I just haven't seen him. So Shea asked me to come in, and he has a lot of great people who've been around him who had saw him at different stages of his life to just come in. So that was an invitation from Shea for me to come in and just provide some perspective on what I've seen in the industry. I'm from Oakland. Shea's from Southern California. I saw him play 14U. I think I coached a team and they beat us by 40. So I have a lot of Shea experience. So I was a great person to be a part of that. But so as far as the filming, anything that has to do with that, I had nothing to do with that. But I was honored that Shea asked me to be a part of that. At all cost, I was put with the director Mike by my brother Ato from Compton Magic, worldwide as they are now. That was when I was at my role at Adidas, and I was able to just give some perspective from the footwear side on what we were doing from the AU standpoint and sponsorships. And I think we shot that in like 2014 or 15. And it didn't come out for a couple of years. So when it came out on Netflix, I'm like, whoa, I forgot all about it. But Ato connected me with Mike, and I thought they did a very good job of pulling back the curtain on some stuff that you typically don't see. I mean, the emotions were raw. The parents were raw. I mean, parents are investing. Some parents are investing everything on this basketball journey. And that just showed at all costs what some families are willing to do to get their kid to that mountaintop, which was a Division I scholarship at that time. The third one I've been a part of, documentary / featured film, I like to call it, was Gunning for the Number One Spot. We filmed that in 2006. My opportunity to get involved with that came from my relationship with the original Boost Mobile Elite 24.
I remember that.
My brother Chris Stone wasn't even at Under Armour yet. He put that together, and he gave me the opportunity, along with Lamont from Philadelphia, who's now at the Golden State Warriors. And basically, we split the country in half, and we went out and recruited the 24 players to be in that game. And within the game, one of the Beastie Boys, Adam Yauch, decided, hey, I want to see, can we tell a story around this? So I live in Portland. I got to go to Arizona and we filmed a piece with Jared Bayless. I drove 5 hours to Medford, Oregon. We did a piece with Cal Singler. I flew down to SoCal. We did a piece with Brandon Jennings. Kevin Love lived 15 minutes from me. We went to his house. I was a part of this whole summer of 2006, all this footage we were gathering before the kids showed up at Rucker Park in August. And I watched it about 2 months ago. I hadn't even fully watched it. And I didn't realize how much camera time I got. I really should have got a check. But something that I can tell my kids, because there's a clip that both my kids were in there. They were like 5 and 2. They're just running around in the gym. We were filming Kevin. So I still get chills on the inside to think I was a part of that monumental, iconic basketball experience. That platform is still going on, sponsored by Under Armour, the UA Elite 24. My relationship with Brandon Jennings, spending time with Mike Beasley that week. Lance played. Dante Green was there. It was just Bobito was out there. Jay Kidd came out because him and Chris Stones were high school backcourt teammates, and we made that game happen. And just like it showed in the documentary, we ended the game 1 minute before the rain came. There had never been a game outside in Rucker Park at this level. We were able to pull it off. So that's something when you look at things in your career that you're proud of, that you were a piece of. And there's a lot of other people who put together work on that. My man Pat Coombs was a part of that, and Chris Stone and Burton Chihuahua and the people at Boost Mobile who funded it. If you haven't seen Gunning for the number one spot, I want to read about some players who graduated in the 07, 08, and 09 class. That would be a good 2 hours of your time to check out.
I love that one. I saw all of these joints, and like I knew Parker Cartwright family. He was on At All Costs. I knew his dad and them.
Yeah.
I saw the Man Child one. When I looked at Gunner for number one, especially recently, what caught my attention was the talent back then was on another level in comparison to high school players. Because when I'm looking at the high school players now, and this is no knock on kids now, but like Tyreek Evans and Lance Stevenson and them, they wasn't playing 15U and 16U.
Dexter Strickland.
They wasn't playing. No. They was in 9th grade playing 17U, putting up numbers.
They were looking for the heat.
I get
that.
Yeah.
I understand that. It was different, but people always go, if player so-and-so, I don't have to even say his name, why is he playing 16U if he's that nice? I think that we need to manage the career of who we're managing to put them in the best successful life. It's not for us in the barbershop to tell what people should do. Sometimes you get exposed too early.
Yeah. I seen that with what's the kid name from California? Demetrius Walker. I seen that with him.
Yeah, and Demetrius was so good so early, and Joe Keller, who's still a good friend today, and those things. But his skill set didn't evolve. He was bullying before bullying. He was bullying at the time Lance was bullying. But the fact that Cooper Flagg, incredible talent, love watching him play, don't know him. Cameron Boozer, those guys played 16th. It doesn't matter. They could play 20 and under. They're still cooking dudes.
I hear that.
And I think that we should stop saying OJ played 15s at first. And then he realized, okay, I'm a little too good. And we don't have the right to say what people should be doing for their career journey. They have to do what's best in their huddle, their camp, on the journey that they're on. And we need to stop being so critical, because why would we want, if my son is 15 and he had talent, he hasn't physically developed, why do I want him to go start getting banged against 17-year-olds? And you and I both know, Mike, 17U means we got a couple of 19-year-old dudes out there hiding.
True.
We know that.
True. I hear that point. Now, what this kind of work you did for all these years, how did it impact your personal life?
First off, I've been married to my wife. We just celebrated number 30.
Praise the Most High, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. And if it wasn't for her being forgiving, patient, and understanding of stuff that she knew and understanding of stuff that she didn't understand, I would never be able to run around and be a part of all these that I've done, because I'm on the road sometimes 100 days a year. And I love what I do. So I have zero complaints. I tell this in every speech I give. I have the second best job in the country. Only job better than mine is the 13th man on the NBA team, because he gets paid better, and we know he ain't playing. we know he ain't getting in. But it affected my personal life where there are some things I missed. As I told you, my son was born a month early. I had to fly back there. I missed birthdays. I never missed my anniversary though. But all that said, my kids have also, who are grown, my daughter's, Lauren, she's 25. She's successful in her career. My son is 22. He'll graduate next June. They've also been able to see some things in life that I didn't think my kids would have ever seen at 12, 14, 16 years old. But for me, I've been able to have deep, genuine relationships with people that I'll call brothers forever. Because I mean, I've been able to travel. I had never been to New York before ABCD camp or New Jersey. First time I had to drive a van from JFK to Teaneck, it took about 2 hours because I went to every borough. I think I didn't know where the hell I was going to drive. True story. If you were in that van, I got to see that people were the same, but we're also so different from where we are regionally, and that evolved me as a person. I'm a lot more empathetic from where people come from because I've been able to touch so many people. All I knew was Oakland. Oakland was great. Oakland was rough. Oakland was fine. Oakland is that's what I stand on. Oakland got its own great sense of history. Jay Kidd, G. Payton, Brian Shaw, Huck Mitchell, Aaron Goodwin. I can go on all. Oakland is what it is. But this journey I've been on in my life, my personal life has been enriched in ways I would never thought that a kid from Oakland who hasn't made a meaningful bucket in 40 years would be able to travel the world because of basketball, and I've been able to.
I can relate to that. I probably haven't been all the places you've been, but
I haven't been some places you've been.
Yeah, it definitely changed my life. Like being able to do what I'm doing right now. Give me a list of people that you would like to thank for being so influential in your journey.
I'm not going to mention any family members because I could just go on from there. Bob Williams, former head coach at UC Santa Barbara. When I was a college student at UC Davis and I got cut from the team, I should have made it. Another conversation. He let me come into his office and he taught me how to draw a transition offense, how to teach the shell game. So he gave me my love for coaching, Bob Williams. My high school basketball coach, Mike Phelps at Bishop Odell High School. I was a sophomore. I scored 8 points my entire high school sophomore year career. But he taught me about the fundamentals of running practice and how to be organized and how to share the ball. And that's where I started to develop. I don't have to mention Sonny and Pam Vaccaro, Calvin Andrews, Frank Laporte, Jose Caraballo, Gordy Johnson from St. Joseph High School. They took me from coaching AAU basketball and put me in an organized fashion and let me coach freshmen. There's young men, Matt Fahey and Adam Casares and John Gordon, who I coached as freshmen in 1992 and 1993. I was out my damn mind when I coached freshmen, bro. I was 25. I was trying to be Nolan Richardson. I was trying to be John Thompson. I was out my damn mind. And none of these kids who I coached 3 years of freshman ever reported me to the authorities, and they probably should have. Ray Young, Jules Milstead, Rashawn Fulcher, Renee Jocks. These are all players who I got to know really closely. Eddie House, Mickey Hope, whose families just allowed me to do what I did. And then just, I could go on and on and on. So I'm not going to say I forgot people. There's not enough time on this show. I've been very, very blessed to meet some people who've given me a chance to walk in the door. Darren Kaler's changed my life too with that call, man. And Darren still lives in Portland, but I think he knows. And then there's just so many people I look up to, man. I mean, Jimmy Salmon, Motts, Daph Fouché, those guys were doing that. Mac Irvin and Wallace Prather, come on, man. And their families, those guys took me in. I was the young kid coming in. I was bright. I didn't know how the system worked. And they gave me a lot of grief too. Don't get me wrong. I had some battles. with all these dudes. But when I see Curtis Malone, I saw him in Final Four, what do you do? Walker, you just give dudes a hug. And we've all had life experiences. But this game of basketball has allowed me to touch 39 of the 50 states. Those 10 I haven't got to, I probably don't need to be at, to be honest. And I get to run around. And now that I'm at this point in my career, I want to share my story. I want to help the next Chris Rivers, the next Mike Melton. These guys, they're faster on the cell phones than us, but they don't have the experience. So we got to temper some of their ambition and channel it. so that they can get to do things better than us. Because this basketball industry, if I could tell any young kid getting in, especially a young black kid, start studying analytics. I'm telling my son, learn how to break down film. That doesn't mean you have to do it, but we don't do that enough. It's okay to be a manager. Every GM right now didn't play hoop. A lot of them started off as managers. You got to be willing to sacrifice yourself to do the little things and show that you're a team player at any role in order for you to have a larger platform to grow and get those opportunities you want. Everybody just can't come in and do what you did in year one. You cannot be a 5-year pro in 2 years in the NBA. You got to play 5 years to be a 5-year pro. That's what I tell folks.
Talk about that. Good point. You talked about life experiences. I went through a tragic situation that changed my life, and it helped me become the man that I am, and it increased my faith. Talk about one instance that you think God put you through a challenge that you think will be able to help other people.
I don't know where to start. We can get too personal there, but
yeah, I understand.
I think transitioning from my role at Adidas to being in the business to in one 12-hour streak being out of the business indirectly and having people think they knew what was going on. And some people just believe in what they read, and some things true, most not true, some things infatuated, just the way people pile on to people. So knowing the resiliency I had to go through to remember who I was, there's a couple of days I didn't remember. There's definitely some dark days on my path. But knowing I was a father, knowing I had kids looking up to me, knowing I had to be strong, knowing I had a great support system. What I learned from that is that I'm a lot more of an empathetic person. When things are going good, things are going good. But you don't know how you're going to really deal with things that are going bad until you go through them. And when I went through difficult times, and so for some, regardless how you perceive it, it was tough at that time. Anytime you have a quick life change, you definitely feel that way about it. But one of the major growths I've made, Mike, is I'm a lot more empathetic to other people, regardless of the situation. I'm the person that when someone's going through something, I may not be able to help you. I may not have the resources. I may not be geographically located where you are, but I can send you a text. I can send you a call. Everyone says, I'm gonna pray for you. And prayer is good. But we can do more because people need human connection when you're going through stuff. And that's something that I think I'm a better man, I'm a better husband, I'm a better father. Not gonna sit here and lie to you saying I'm close to perfect. A lot of work to do on Chris Rivers, and it's coming. But I like to think that because of maturity and growth, going through stuff is going to make I guess I'm on the back half of my life, the back half of my life better than if I were to stay on the path I was going, because I was on some BS too. I ain't gonna sit here and lie. I was confused. I thought I was doing the right things. I was feeling myself. I wasn't drinking my Kool-Aid, but I had my chest out. And it wasn't about me, but it's just the truth. And when I had a chance when you get smacked down and God comes in and says,
humbles you.
Stop it. You're not who you think you are. Slow
Talk about
the
it,
hell
brother.
down.
Talk about it.
It probably saved a lot of things in my life by just slowing down. But now I'm back. I'm going to be back better and stronger. I know that I have a responsibility to give game to those who want to listen and also go out and achieve and chase excellence in whatever I'm doing. Ideally, it's going to be in this basketball business at some level, but I'm not limited to that, and no one should be.
Final question. How will Chris Rivers be remembered?
I don't know how Chris Rivers will be remembered, but I hope Chris Rivers is remembered by being a man of his word, and I stand by that period. And I will keep it that simple. Good father, good husband, all that's cute. But in this basketball business, what we're talking about, there shouldn't be a person out there that said shouldn't be more than 3 people. Sometimes I probably forgot. There shouldn't be more than 3 people who said that I did not do what I said I was going to do. And I stand by that. Wow. And that's why I'm here. It's not because I'm any smarter or any of this, anything else. I was great at Adidas because Adidas allowed me to be great with great budget, American Express card. I'm getting a whole lot of shoes, Mike. We talked about that earlier. I gave a lot of shoes, a lot of 6-figure contracts I was able to help push through. Reebok spent a lot of money investing in these platforms that allowed me to create these relationships. So by myself, Chris Rivers is cool, but with a good partner, Chris Rivers has had a chance to be a part of some great things. Oh, another person I want to shout out: Derrick Rose and Reggie Rose,
Mm.
Dwight Howard, Kevin
Mm.
Samples.
Mm.
Oh, my guy Matt Davis at Excel right now. My brother Anthony Coleman. I got a guy Marquise Watts who is I don't know how to describe how close we are, but we go back years. Those are some people who, in the last chapter of my life, have been instrumental in my growth.
Mm-hmm.
And my man Dan Cutler, who I know he's sitting here wondering how come I didn't shout him out. He's been with me since 2007. But I could go on and on and on.
Mm.
There's just too many people. But I've been definitely blessed to have great people believe in me and rock with me. This young Brandon Walker, who went to my high school, Bishop O'Dowd, who worked at Adidas with me. Now he works at Meta. He's going to be one of the most influential people in sports part or whatever space he lands in. He's riding with me every day. I got riders with me, Mike.
Must be good. That's a good thing, brother, man. Chris, this has definitely been a dandy for me, and I'm always about giving people their flowers, man. You were definitely a true legend, and you inspired me to do what I was doing. I remember a conversation you had with me in closing. I was right with Metro Hoops, and I was at ABC. Then I walked past, and you was like, "Yo, I see what you're doing. Just keep writing. It's gonna lead to something one day." And I always remembered that, and it inspired me to keep going, man. So I want to thank you for that and
I
give you
appreciate
your
that.
flowers, man. You're a legend, man.
Well, I like to hope that I got a lot of good things left to do out there because I'm definitely working towards it.
Okay, no doubt, man.
But I want to wish you continued success. I want people to. I'm gonna obviously share this because it's it's self-promoting, of course. But I want people to know they can learn more about you, know about your story, more about your your metamorphosis as a man, as a professional, and just being where you are in that tri-state area. That already gives you guys some extra that no place else in the country doesn't have.
No doubt, man. So it was good, man. Enjoy the rest of your night, and
Okay,
let's stay in touch, man. Thanks,
my
Chris.
man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming
God
on.
bless.
All right. But we have it. A great interview with Chris Rivers, man. I want to thank the Most High for allowing me to have that interview. You know what I'm saying? He was somebody I looked up to in the game for years, and so it was good having that kind of interview and being able to bring you guys some things. We'll be back Wednesday with another special guest. We'll let you know that coming up. And this is Mike signing off. Talk to you guys later. Spotlight Live. Shalom.